How are you, sir?
And then I give her a call to recap things. Oh, you got
Yeah, oh, I got the recap.
It was like one of
Everyone ready? Good, Lindsay?
Is it 7? Oh, it is.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the Woburn City Council on May 21st. Just a reminder to everyone, tonight's meeting is being recorded for broadcast. Also, I please ask you to silence your cell phones. If you are able, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Higgins, would you call a roll, please?
Counsel Campbell.
Present.
Counsel Demers.
Present.
Counsel DeMambro.
Present.
Counsel Ferrullo.
Present.
Counsel Mercer Bruin.
Present.
Counsel Papalato.
Present.
Counsel Toro.
Present.
Counsel Viola.
Present.
President Dillon.
Present. Before we start tonight, per Councilor DeMambro's request, would like to just read something, and after that, take a moment to silence for Vincent Ravella, longtime resident and educator in Woburn. Mr. Ravella was a well-respected basketball, baseball coach, varsity pitching coach for the 1968 state champions baseball team that was inducted into the Woburn High School Hall of Fame. He was also a great educator, a great friend. He's also a clerk for many Woburn elections. He will be missed. Our condolences go out to his family and his friends. If we could take a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the previous meeting's journal and approve.
Second.
The motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
The first item on the agenda is an order that the sum of $219,589.15 be transferred from drug task salary, auditor salary, and mayor salary adjustment accounts to various salary accounts.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Finance. Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is the order that the sum of $50,000 be transferred from workers' compensation account to veterans cash aid.
Same motion.
Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is an order that the sum of $48,500 be transferred from Draper Street Sewer I&I account, various Draper Street accounts, to the
Green Street and Nashua Project.
Green and Nashua Street Project, TEC Engineering Company.
Motion that the matter be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is an order that the sum of $110,000 be transferred from Cemetery Interest Fund to various cemetery accounts for fiscal
Same
year
action.
2025.
Same action.
Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is an order authorizing the mayor to accept this from the South End Italian Club in the sum of $130,086 from to the Veterans Donation Fund.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is an order authorizing the mayor to to enter into a utility and walkway easement agreement with 43 Pool Street LLC for properties located at Winter Road Extension lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 43 Pool Street.
Make a motion the matter be adopted, or the order be adopted, excuse me.
Second.
The motion and the second to order to be adopted, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition by the International School of Boston for a special event permit to allow a road race at Hon Pond on June 12, 2024.
Make a motion a special event permit be granted.
Second.
The motion and second that this is granted, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is petition by St. Anthony of Padua Church for a special event permit for St. Anthony's Festival in the Farrell Field area on June 15, 2024.
Make a motion that a special event permit be granted.
Second.
Motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is petition by Lord Hobo for a special event permit to allow a road race starting at 5 Draper Street and along area streets on June 16, 2024.
Make a motion the special event permit be granted.
Second.
On the motion?
Yes.
I do know at the most recent License Commission meeting that this event was brought up, and they didn't issue a liquor license to them yet because they have to come in front of them for that. So just want the council to be aware.
Motion to continue or table?
If the special event permit is separate from the license, from the liquor license? So you don't have to wait
So
for
the-
liquor
the
license.
special, Mr. President, if I may?
Yes, please.
Special event permit can go on being approved of,
Subject to.
because it could still be held without the sale of alcohol being happening outside. So I think we can move forward on this permit, and whether they want to have the license commission issue them a liquor license for that day, it's a license commission issue.
Thank you for the clarification, Councilor Demirs. So if someone wants to make a motion?
The motion is second right now.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition for the Shamrock Running Club for a special event permit to allow for a road race at Spence Farm on July 4th, 2024, with a request for a waiver of umbrella liability insurance.
Make a motion that the matter be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and License.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is a petition by the Church of the Living God for a special event permit for music concerts on June 11th, 2024, and June 22nd, 2024, at Horn Pond Ice House Park, with request for a waiver of umbrella liability insurance.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and License.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition for renewal of taxi cab license for Checker Cab of Woburn, Inc., at 827 Main Street.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and License.
Second.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition for renewal of livery license for Checker Cab at Woburn, Inc., at 827 Main Street.
Same motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is a petition for renewal of a second-hand dealers and second-hand collectors license for Muster Jewelers at 186 Cambridge Road.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and License.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Petition for new second-hand dealers and second-hand collectors license for Teresa's Closet at 164 Main Street.
Make a motion the matter be referred to a public hearing.
Second.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is a petition by NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, for grant of location to install approximately 5 feet of conduit northwesterly from pole 228-10 at the intersection of Richard Circle on Washington Street.
Make a motion the matter be referred to a public hearing.
Second.
The motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is a petition by Bombay Baking LLC for a modification of previously issued special permit dated January 8th, 2024, to allow for replacement of Starbucks Coffee Corp. as petitioner, and special permit under section 5.1 subsection 29 and note 16 as amended to allow for the fast food restaurant at 350 Washington Street, AKA 204 West Cummings Park.
Make a motion the matter be referred to a public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second that this is referred to a public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
First item we have on the agenda under public hearings is a petition by Viet Thai Restaurant Inc., DBA Saigon Eatery for a special permit under sections 5.1 subsection 29, section 7.3, and 8.2.5, and modification of previous special permit to allow for 1, revised site plan, 2, fast food restaurant, and 3, modification of parking from 148 spaces to 144 spaces at 299 Mishron Road. A communication dated April 29th, 2024 was received from John Cashell, the planning director. I believe
Make a motion that
That's it.
Make a motion that all communications are received, made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Okay, good
Attorney
evening.
Tarby, how are you tonight?
Fine, thank you. For the record, Attorney Joseph Tabby, Reuben and Redmond, 500 Unicorn Park Drive in Woburn, here on behalf of the applicant. We're going to make our presentation this evening. City engineer had requested some traffic data that we just finished today. We're going to provide him with copies of that. We'll leave copies for you. And we'd be asking to continue this to June 4th after our presentation. So the petitioner is seeking special permits to allow for a fast food restaurant under 5.129 and section 7.3 of the zoning ordinance. A reduction of parking under Section 8.2.5 and Section 12, site plan approval to allow for modification of special permit decision that was originally granted back on March 27, 2014, and then further modified on August 7th, 2014, to allow for a fast food restaurant. We have a revised plan that just corrects the parking count at the site, and the original 2014 permit allowed for the parking to be reduced to 148 spaces. Turned out that 3 of them weren't built, and they were off by 1 spot, so it's actually 144 spaces. The structure's non-conforming because the rear of the structure does not meet the rear yard setback of 30 feet. The property is located in the Business Interstate Zoning District, which requires a special permit for a fast food restaurant. So the property at 299 Mishawam Road is a small retail center, has approximately 32,358 square feet of net floor area. The other tenants in the center are West Marine, Mattress Firm, Eastern Bank, and there's restaurant space at the far right. In March of 2014, a special permit was granted to Be Good, a fast food restaurant. They subsequently didn't go forward, and in August of 2014, a special permit was granted to Noodles and Company, who operated there until 2017, when the parent company closed all of its Mass locations. So the petitioner in this application is Via Thai Restaurant Inc., DBA Saigon Eatery. Petitioner is basically a mom and pop operation owned locally. They operate the Via Thai Restaurant in Lowell, and they'd like to operate the Saigon Eatery in the former Noodles location at 299 Mishawam Road. I will submit a copy of the menu at the conclusion of my presentation, but there'll be baked Viet baguettes, finger foods like spring rolls, chicken wings, noodle soups, rice plates, vermicelli. There'll be seating for approximately 30 patrons, and the hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days per week. The entire site is fully leased, so this proposal doesn't result in adding any additional square footage to the building. As I just indicated, there's no changes to the site plan, except showing an accurate count of the parking spaces. The 2014 special permit decision allowed for 148 spaces, and the updated survey showed the actual parking space count at 144. Bowman is the traffic consultant in this matter and has prepared a trip generation memorandum, which I'll submit when we're finished with this public hearing. In terms of the planning department letter, we have spoken with the property owner, and all of the items that were mentioned by Mr. Cashel will be completed by the property owner, and I would expect that we'd incorporate those into conditions as part of the special permit. And then his last comment, that all special permits on the previous special permits continue to run with the special permit. No issue with that as well. So that's, the general outline of the proposal. Be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Question, yes,
Thank you,
Councilor
President
Braun.
Dillon. Thank you, Attorney Tarby, for the presentation, and I was just going to make one quick comment about the June 4th public hearing. Do you think you'll have the traffic data back to the council in time for us to have a committee meeting and to review it properly? June 4th is literally a week and a half away.
I believe we will. I know the traffic engineer was going to reach out to Jay Corey late this afternoon.
Okay, I just want to be mindful of that.
Yep. No, I appreciate
Because I know
that.
we have budget hearings coming up. and-
Yep.
and all. My other question is, I don't believe there's a liquor license being applied for this site. There wasn't for the other two
No.
operations, right? Okay. And that parking lot has been in tough shape for a while. So there might be, I might have a few modifications to Director Cashel's conditions. They were very thoughtful and well thought out, but some of them I'll probably adjust the language to include a certain amount of time that we'll have to have inspections, so it doesn't get to the point that it's at now. It really is in tough shape, so.
Okay,
Other than that, I don't have any additional comments until I see the traffic comments, so thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Councilor DeMambro.
Good evening, Attorney Tobby. I just have one question. Whatever happened to the owners of that property came to us last year or so, and they were looking to revamp their entrance. Whatever became of those plans that they were going to shut down the current entrance and move it closer to Scrub-a-Dub?
Yeah, they decided not to go forward with those.
Okay. And will there be any other modifications to that parking lot in lieu of this restaurant?
No,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
other than what's in Mr. Cashel's letter.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else for Attorney Tobby's? That's it?
Okay, Mr. President, if I could just submit, for the record, I do have a copy of the traffic assessment, I have a copy of the menu, and then a floor plan.
Make a motion that we receive the papers and make part of the permanent record?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes, thank
Could I
you.
also make a motion, President Dillon, that all, oh, I'm sorry, Lindsay, my apologies. Thank you. I mean, you can't write and, thank you very much. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Totally like, it's not past
Thank you.
President Dillon?
Yes, Councilor Boone.
I did have one more question
Sure.
for Attorney Tarby. Attorney Tarby, you mentioned your client has an existing restaurant in Lowell.
Correct.
Could you share with the council the address of the business?
Sure, it's, do you have the address? Quick, why don't you just identify yourself for the record?
Hi, my name is Christy. My uncle is the one that owns the restaurant in Lowell, and the address is 368 Merrimack Street, Lowell, Massachusetts.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd also like to make a motion, President Dillon, that the copies of the original existing special permit for both Noodles and Be Good with all the conditions be given to members of the city council prior to our committee meeting.
Second.
The motion and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
That
Thank you.
passes. Anything else for Attorney Tobby?
Okay,
Thank you, Attorney
Make a motion
Tobby.
and we open the public hearing?
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please come to the pedestal.
Make a motion that we continue the public hearing to the regular meeting of the city council on June 4th, and that the matter is referred to the Committee on Special Permits.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we have 25 Everett Street Realty Trust for a special permit under sections 5.1 subsection 5 and 8.3.3 to allow for the construction of a mixed-use building consisting of commercial space and 8 residential units above, and to use of municipal parking facilities to meet parking requirements at 0 Walnut Street. A communication dated May 7, 2024 was received from Greg Rayum, the Assistant City Engineer. Further communication dated May 2nd, 2024, was received from John Cashel, the Planning Director. Just one moment. And those are the communications.
I'll make a motion, we receive those communications and make them part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. How are you tonight, Attorney Giuliano?
Very good, Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, for the record, Attorney James Giuliano, 607 Main Street, Woburn, Mass., on behalf of the applicant, who is here with us tonight, along with the engineer Jack Sullivan. So as the application stated, we are seeking a special permit under sections 5.1.5 to construct a 3-story mixed-use building with office space on the first floor and 8 residential buildings on the second floor. We're also seeking a special permit under 8.3.3, which is reduction of parking, 16 spaces required, where we have 5 on site. So we're going to be asking to request that the board allow us to put into the parking bank. If you're familiar with the site, you know it's at 0 Walnut, which is adjacent to the 15-minute Dunkin' Donuts parking lots. As soon as you go up the building towards the rear of the Bolodrome, it's the entrance of that building. It's right next to Walnut Manor, the VFW that's over there. Place has been blighted for a good amount of time, and ironically, I represented the seller at the time, which was St. John's Baptist Church. They were the owners years ago, and they sold it to my client about 2 years ago. So if you're, again, familiar with the site, it is graded so that the front of it is going to be located on Walnut Street, but the rear is going to be located at Everett. And so it slopes basically from about 15 feet or so from Walnut Street all the way down to Everett from front to back respectively. As I mentioned, the land is vacant. It's been vacant forever as far as I can remember. Contains about 5,000 square feet, 50 feet of frontage, located in the downtown business zoning district. Existing access easements, I think it's important to note, there is an access easement that goes through St. John's Baptist parking lot. So if you're familiar with St. John's Church on Everett Street, if you look across the street, there's a parking lot. That's where our access and utility easement lies. That's where we're going to get access to the back of this building, which will get to the proposed garage that we're going to discuss in a little bit. As I mentioned, the proposed development is going to be a mixed use with commercial space occupying about 3,900 square feet, and then 2 stories, second story and third story, which will be 4 residential 2-bedroom units on the second story and 4 on the third story. We are obviously requesting a relief from the parking. Obviously, as I'll go through the comments of Mr. Cashel and engineering, and just for the record too, I think there was a comment today that from DPW, Jay Duran did send something out this afternoon, mimics the engineering department, which we were all aware of anyway, so it's nothing new to us. Obviously, at the end of this presentation, I would request a continuance as well, just so we can have our engineer coordinate with Jay Duran and engineering to address those comments that were brought forward. There is going to be a subsurface infiltration system. That location is proposed right now in the plans. However, once we talk to Jay Duran and engineering a little bit more, our engineer will maybe move that to an advantageous place that Jay Corey or Greg Graham recommend. So those discussions are still going to happen over the next week or so. Other than dumpster pickup, there's not going to be any loading or unloading that's going to burden the area. Again, it's going to be 8 residential units that we're proposing, parking in the garage. Other than that, there's going to be a commercial space that's going to be office space. So we're not going to be seeing a lot of unloading, loading, people coming in like a restaurant use or something like that. So we think that this is something that's less intrusive to that area, especially where it's a busy parking lot, I would like to call it. As the planning director mentioned in his comments briefly, he mentioned a landscaping plan. As you can see from the plans, this building, which I should mention was approved. We came back in 2021, same exact footprint that was approved. We just, my client let it lapse just because of construction costs and things like that. So the footprint we're proposing is the same exact footprint that was approved back in 2021, just to note for the record. But the planning director did mention a landscaping plan. As you can see, we're probably about 90% at capacity with the lot. Other than overhead lighting for entrances, garages, there's really no need for landscaping plan. but we can surely show where we're going to put them on the building. That's probably the only landscaping, lighting plan that is going to be requested. Same thing for landscaping. Landscaping, there was requested by Mr. Cashel. Landscaping will be, for the 10% that we have, probably just some bushes near the entranceways and right around the building. But again, that's to the extent of the landscaping plan in the downtown Bismarck, which we think is more than adequate for that area. Finished grades, we will have those once our engineer finishes up with Jay Corey, finishes up with engineering, depending on where the infiltration systems go. That will dictate a little bit the finished grades, which we will provide to you. And then I do have to mention a parking correction. So Mr. Cashel mentioned that the fund will be needed for all proposed parking. If you're, obviously you're familiar with 8.3.3, it is required that we put into the fund the amount of $4,500 for just the residential. So based on our calculations, we are short 11 residential spots that we would be looking to put in the parking lot, obviously adjacent to where this proposal is, which requires 11 buying spots with the full amount of $49,500. So I wanted to make that correction. I did read Mr. Cashel's comments, and I did want to make a correction on that. So that is all under the ordinance. As we mentioned, I'll have Mr. Sullivan come up, the engineer, with regards to drainage. There was some comments based on sewer infiltration, drainage calculations, et cetera. I will have Jack Sullivan come up with that and just give a brief overview of what is being proposed. It's going to mimic essentially what was proposed and approved in 2021, but I think it's worth to mention, obviously, and new council members, it should be brought up in the record as well. So that being said, I'll bring up Jack Sullivan just to kind of give an overview of utilities, infiltration, et cetera.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm doing well. For the record, my name's Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group. I'll be brief, but this project will be serviced by city water. We're going to have fire protection service. There'll be a dedicated domestic service for the residential units, and there'll be a dedicated domestic service for the commercial space as well. As Jim stated, all our utilities are off of Walnut Street. As such, we're going to have to pump the sewage from the lower level up to the sewer main in Walnut Street. We're going to do that with an environmental one grinder pump, and that's a detail I'm going to work out with the city engineer. As far as the drainage, it was approved. We have an under slab drainage system. There'll be an internal roof drain system for this building, and water would be collected and put into an underground pipe and crushed stone infiltration chamber. But I have some thoughts about putting the drainage within that 12-foot wide access and utility easement going out to Everett Street, because I don't like the idea of having a drainage system underneath a foundation, more for long-term maintenance. If it ever had to be replaced, you'd have to jackhammer the floor. It would be a cost, it would be a nuisance and tough to do. So that's going to be something I talk with the engineering department about this week. We'll probably dig another soil test hole to look at the soils. We had sand and gravel out at this site, but I also want to get a better understanding where the seasonal high groundwater table is. If there's any other questions from anyone, I'll gladly answer them.
Any questions? Yes, Councilor DeMambro.
Do you have any information on a fire suppression system for that building?
It'll have to be designed by a fire suppression engineer. So I do show a dedicated fire protection line coming in. The team may have already had a fire suppression engineer size that and do an analysis. It was done. I'll let him answer the question.
My name is Joseph Malieski, one of the owners of Stella Construction. So the water sewer line and fire suppression line were all brought onto the property. We were told there was going to be a moratorium on that on Walnut Street, so we had to get them in, right away. So we had done that a couple years ago. Originally, this project was permitted, and then once the cost of things during COVID got so escalated, it didn't make sense to continue with the project.
But that system will be brought up to speed, so it's an adequate system for what you guys are proposing to build there.
Yes, yes.
And my other question is on that drainage system. Have you spoken to Superintendent Duran on any of this, or Commissioner Quinn on the building department?
I haven't. I did get Jay Duran's comments today. I've done a lot of work with him, so I know him well. I will give him a call, and I'm going to coordinate this. But we just received the comments today. I haven't been able to contact him today,
Excellent.
but I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor
This question is for Attorney Giuliano. Attorney Giuliano, I know you and I had a discussion several months ago regarding alternative parking use spots or alternative sites for parking to kind of lessen the blow of the use of 11 spots on the municipal lot through the parking fund. So could you just let us know an update on that, on what you
Yes.
found out?
Yeah, so thank you for reminding me. So
record.
we did
Thank you.
go back to St. John's Baptist, so St. John's owned this property, and I did approach them. At the time, obviously they sold the property because they needed money for the church. So I approached them, seeing if there's additional monies that, my client could bring to the church that would help them. It comes to find out they're doing very well, and actually asked us if they could buy the property from my client. So here nor there, but they're doing very well, and they were not willing to give up any parking spots. I did ask them because, again, across the street from St. John's Baptist is a parking lot that could probably hold 20 or so cars. So I did ask if we could get some long-term easements or do something with them, and they said they needed all the parking they could get. We did ask around a little bit more, and we've pretty much, I feel like we've exhausted those options, but unfortunately, we did try that, and that would have been ideal. But unfortunately, here we are asking, obviously, for municipal parking lot to be used for those residential spaces, so.
That's all I had, thank you.
Thank you. Just from the chair, the ejection pump for the sewer system, that is on the petitioner's side for all repairs, maintenance in the future and forever?
That's correct. That'll all be on our property and will be their maintenance forever, correct?
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Papalato.
So I know there's been a lot of issues raised by engineering as well as planning, and you made a few corrections to those. So is your intent to try to work with these departments to make them whole in these areas?
Absolutely, yeah. So and just to clarify, we're going to fact-check everything that we've submitted in 2021 and not just basically say, here's what we submitted in 2021. We're going back, even though the building's the same footprint, we're going to go back with the new comments and adjust those if necessary, which I think they will be. But again, Mr. Duran did send comments this afternoon that we weren't too concerned about, only because they did mimic Mr. Reum's comments. So they were parallel in that regard, so we were already sort of working on those. So we are going to address all those concerns. We did not receive any other comments from fire, police, or any of that matter. So those are the only 3 comments we received to date.
And what I previously saw about the number of spots that you were going to need from the public lot, I had a bit of an issue with that. We're down to 11. You're thinking it based on the residential?
Yeah, the residential required, obviously, 8 units would be 16 parking spaces. We have 5 that are going to be on site in a garage that, obviously we tried to get a little bit more out of that space and we just weren't able to do it. So the number we would be seeking from the municipal lots to put into that bank would be 11 parking spaces, correct?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Viola?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Giuliano, I just want to go on record, as I have in the past, I'm not in favor of this sharing the parking with the city and the potential businesses or residents moving in. I just think it's a bad idea, mixing the two. As it is, we can see that lot up there, how it's always full. I mean, rain or shine, day or night, it's always packed, so just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that comment. And again, this is a much bigger issue in the city. I think we can all agree with that. The balance we have to make, obviously, is how do we create housing, make a better spot, and figure the parking issue out without punishing individual applicants? Because, we need parking. I mean, that's just the bottom line in the city, especially in downtown. So we have to make a balance as to what's reasonable. I feel like 8 spots in that area is reasonable to get people going in downtown, walking around. I think it's great that we were able to provide 5 parking spots. I know downtown, there's just nothing available, especially for the residential. So the fact that we put 5 is better. I don't discount your point, but I think it's a bigger issue that the city has to tackle in reality. But again, I think, you know, I wouldn't like to see somebody get punished because of a larger issue with the city.
Yes, Councilor Dominguez.
No, I just, you know, I do very much appreciate Attorney Giuliano's efforts on behalf of his petitioner looking at other areas, because I've seen other projects come before us, and it's a straight-up ask. We never hear from those applicants whether they've actually looked to securing other parking spots or easements for parking outside of the city lot, so I do appreciate those efforts. In terms of looking forward, is your petitioner gonna be prepared to present on the 4th, or should we be looking to the 18th?
Yeah, so I spoke to the engineer, and I'll have Jack sort of corroborate this, but I think what we need to make, especially with a prior plan that we're running off of, it's very doable to get things in well in advance of the 4th. Hopefully, if we can, I don't want to put him on the spot, but maybe get things in by next week to give the council and everybody a chance to look at it, all the departments a chance to look at it, so they're not scrambling.
All right.
I think it's doable. Is that doable? It's
Thank
doable.
you.
Councilor Boone.
Thank you, President Dillon. I just wanted to let you know, I do share the concerns about the parking. I struggled with this the first time it came around. I'm glad to hear you got the 5. That's great. But I do worry the people who are going to live here, they're going to have company too, right? So is it really 11, or is it, so I just wanted to be honest with you. I still have concerns. And if maybe everybody could put their thinking caps on, maybe there's someplace else that might want to enter into some sort of parking deal with your client. There's a lot of property around here.
Yeah, we can certainly keep asking. It was my intent. If the council or anybody you know has any ideas as to somebody that you got your eyes and ears open, we'll continue to ask and see. Absolutely.
Because the people who live there, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're not guaranteed those spots either, right?
No,
you
I
have
think,
to pay into that fund, and they may or may not get a parking space.
Well, absolutely, as in anybody downtown, exactly correct. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, obviously, as the bigger picture looks, how many people are using those same exact spots in those municipal lots? I mean, that's a reality.
No, I remember we talked about this before you were managing this client. The people who pay the rent may or may not get a spot. So how do you advertise that? How do you, when you're advertising for rent, comes with a parking space or it doesn't come with a parking space? I mean, technically it doesn't, right? It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how we market each one. I mean, depending on, they're all similar sizes, or the same size for the most part. It's just going to come
Comes
down.
with 5. You have those 5, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, somebody's going to have those 5 probably allocated throughout one of the 8. So, 5 of those 8 units will get one, and then, everybody else, we have to figure that. We haven't gotten that far. But yeah, I mean, there's only 5 to give in 8 units, but correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor DeMambo.
Attorney Giuliani, have you ever explored your engineers, your architects, maybe designing the building so that it's elevated and you can park underneath via Everett Street, and then have ground level entrance and exit at 0 Walnut up at the upper level? This way you have a substantial amount of parking underneath the dwelling, like on High Street. They elevated the dwellings, they put the apartments up above, they park up underneath. And then if you were to take and put that retention system in ground, it might be a little bit more accessible, just to jackhammer up a 4-inch slab and maybe access it that way. It's just a thought. I'm just trying.
We can explore. I mean, we can explore. Like I said, we have, and just so everybody knows, we have the way the grading goes is that, and you probably have seen it from the plans, but somebody who's going in the commercial unit will walk in through Walnut Street, and then it's graded so that the garage is located on Everett. So that's how it'll work. But we can certainly explore that. We have the grading. We can kind of play with that a little bit, and we can probably discuss that afterwards. But yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
On a CAD system, it's clickety-click,
Yeah.
and see if it works.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Agree.
Everyone's good?
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please step forward. Seeing no
I'll
one.
make a motion that we continue the public hearing to the regular meeting of the city council on June 4th and refer the matter to special permit.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Next item on the agenda under public hearings is Citizens Bank for a special permit with site plan review under section 11.6, subsection 10, 7.3, 13.5, and 18.4 for the demolition of a portion of the building and construction of a new building addition with drive-up ATM service at 1 Commerce Way. The communication dated today, May 21st, 2024, was received from Alan D. Roscoe, requesting that this meeting be continued to June 18th. Public hearing.
Make a motion that communication be received, made part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Is there anyone here in the public that would like to speak in this matter? Please step forward. Seeing no one.
I'll make a motion that the public hearing be continued to the regular meeting of the council on June 18th.
Second and on the motion.
Yes.
If we could send a communication, please, to Mr. Roscoe, telling them we are going to continue the next public hearing, but it may very well be the last one. And I'd like to see an update on where we are. Superintendent Duran has told them what needs to be done, and this keeps getting dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. And, you know, it's interesting to me, sometimes we hear from folks who say, oh, gosh, it seems to take so long when we come to the city council. It doesn't take long if people do what they're asked to do. And I'm starting to wonder if these folks even want to build a building, quite frankly. So I'll take it down a notch, but if we could send them a memo and let them know that we need to get this moving.
President Dillon?
Yes.
I actually spoke with him today. I don't know if you want me to summarize the conversation.
If you have, I have not heard from them.
It seems like he's under the impression he's waiting for something on the city side. So I told him, I suggested that he reached out to you and the other department heads to make sure that everything is all set to move forward.
The last piece of information I got before I was away on vacation is that Superintendent Duran was still waiting for some information from them. So I'll see if I can get it worked out in the next week or so. But that, as far as I know, that's been the process all along. Every time they present a plan, Superintendent Duran will say, well, you didn't do what I asked you to do. These folks are engineers that are working on this. I don't understand why it's that difficult. So again, at some point, this thing needs to either be withdrawn and start over, or let's keep it moving along.
Is there a
Thank you.
motion before?
I'd like to make a motion, we send a communication to Mr. Roscoe and let him know that we expect to get this wrapped up at the next public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Councilor Toro, you had something? You good? Thank you.
And so there's a still made motion on the floor to continue it?
There's a motion and a second to continue it to June 18th.
Second.
We just need an all in favor.
There's a motion and a second to continue to June 4th?
June 18th.
June 18th. Thank you for the clarification. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda we have under committee reports is the order that the sum of $255,000 be transferred from mayor's salary adjustment account to Woburn High Memorial School teacher's salary account. A committee report was received ought to pat.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and the second that the committee report is adopted. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Another item from the Committee on Finance, an order that the sum of $2,053,000 be transferred from fire BLS ambulance account to various fire accounts.
Make a motion the
Committee report was ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and the second. All in favor? Aye. That passes.
From the Committee on Personnel, on the reappointment of Meg Ann Meany to the Board of Trustees of the Woburn Public Library, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the reappointment of John Sawyer to the Woburn Board of Cemetery Commissioners, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the appointment of Edmund F. McGrath to the Woburn Board of Cemetery Commissioners, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
From the Committee on Public Safety and License, on the petition by New England Orienteering Club for a special event permit for a map and compass sport event at Horn Pond parking lot in Arlington Road on August 25th, 2024, with requests for umbrella liability insurance waiver. Committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the petition for renewal of taxi cab license for Woburn Cab Company, Inc. at 100 Ashburton Avenue, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
On the petition for renewal of livery license for Harmony Transportation, Inc. at 8 Con Street, a committee report was received, ought to pass.
Make a motion the committee report be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda we have is a communications reports, the parking clerk report for April 2024, communication dated May 8th.
Make a motion the matter be received and placed on file.
A motion and a is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is 42 Degrees LC 45-day update from modification of special permit decision at 20-30 Sonar Drive. Communication dated May 9th, 2024 was received from Joseph R. Tarby, the petitioner's attorney.
Make a motion that the matter be received and placed on file.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next, under appointments and elections, a reappointment of Shannon Ryan to the Woburn Board of Registrars of Voters.
Make a motion that the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. That passes.
On the reappointment of Tracy A.R. Jolly to the Woburn Board of Registrars of Voters.
Make a motion the matter be referred to the Committee on Personnel.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item on the agenda is resolved that the communication be sent to state delegation requesting information on the MBTA Communities Act. I believe Councilor Joanne Campbell would like to speak on this.
Yes. Lindsay, thank you for putting in the full language that accidentally was not put in the extended agenda. I just would like to take a moment to talk about, first of all, just briefly, about the importance of this resolve and why I'm putting it in. I did speak briefly with Representative Haggerty, and we're going to be talking more about this in hopes that we can maybe resolve some of these issues with this MBTA Communities Act. So I would like to read through it, if that's okay with everybody, because I think the information is very important for the people at home. Thank you.
You have the floor.
Resolved, whereas the city of Woburn has been supportive of all of taking steps for decades to encourage, and to encourage reasonable development of a variety of housing styles across the city, including single-family, two-family, and multifamily homes, townhouse and garden apartments, elevator apartments, dwelling units above first-floor commercial structures, congregate elderly housing, and public housing developments, both as standalone buildings and in planned developments. And whereas, according to records on file with the Woburn Inspectional Services Department, from 2012 through 2021, the city approved projects allowing multifamily buildings providing 2,648 residential units, and 1,554 of those units are located within a half a mile of Anderson Station. And whereas since 2019 alone, 1,457 units have been approved, and 1,066 of these units are within a half mile of Anderson Station. And whereas these figures do not include multifamily buildings and multifamily homes constructed since the 1960s in all areas of the city. And whereas the city established the Mishawam Station Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District in 2006, which allows by right construction of townhouse dwellings, garden apartments, and elevator apartments next to an MBTA commuter rail stop. And whereas since 2003, the city established a smart growth overlay district pursuant to MGI 40R, as well as 8 other zoning and overlay districts, all of which allow multifamily uses. And whereas the city has encouraged the development of affordable housing by requiring most multifamily developments to provide a minimum of 15% of income-eligible households, as defined in 760 CMR 5602. And whereas, despite these efforts by the City of Woburn and the construction of these thousands of units, the rent charged to live in these developments, particularly the newer ones, remains high for most residents, demonstrating that the construction of these units will not, with any certainty, reduce rent charged to residents. And whereas the MBTA Communities Act is designed to force zoning changes in municipalities to allow multifamily housing in areas which may not be the most appropriate area for families to reside in the community because of their proximity to settled industrial and business uses, and a lack of resources and services within a reasonable distance from the areas, including grocery stores, schools, and public safety facilities. And whereas the MBTA Communities Act prohibits in most cases an affordable housing requirement of greater than 10%, and whereas some communities are designating areas for the zoning district, which in principle complies with the MBTA Communities Act, but by their own assessment will be unfeasible for the development of any multifamily housing. And whereas the Commonwealth has filed a legal action against one community for failing to designate a zoning district under the MBTA Communities Act, and the threat of litigation hangs over every community served by the MBTA. And whereas the rollout of the MBTA Communities Act has caused considerable strife in many communities in the Commonwealth, leading to the rejection of proposed zoning plans in several of these communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Woburn, City Council of the City of Woburn, that a communication be sent to the members of the city state delegation requesting the following information and action. 1, that our state delegation provide to the City Council any information that the Commonwealth compiled that demonstrates an analysis of how the MBTA Communities Act will lead to a reduction in rent charges and what those charges are expected to be. And 2, that our state delegation take steps, including filing legislation on behalf of the City of Woburn, seeking to reevaluate the MBTA Communities Act to develop a more thoughtful process for encouraging the development of multifamily housing, and to extend the deadlines for action by the cities and towns so that development of multifamily housing is reasonable and genuinely effective in meeting the needs of our residents. And I would like to thank Commissioner Tom Quinn for getting this information on the housing numbers. I thought it was really important for us to see what we have already voted for in the past and how many units we have built. And I feel that we need to get credit for that. Whether it's going to take place or not, I'm not sure, but there is nothing wrong with moving forward to encourage our state delegation to talk to some of the other members, see if they can bring this back on the floor, tweak it, make some changes so that it's more beneficial to Woburn. So with that being said, I would like a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second and on the motion?
Yes, Councilor Boone.
I'd just like to thank Councilor Campbell for jumping on board with this, because Councilor DeMambro and I have been banging this drum for quite some time. In fact, what's in that resolve is what we presented to the planning board well over 3 months ago, and well over a year ago. So I am happy to put it in the form of the resolve, but it has fallen on deaf ears up until now. I'd like to thank Councilor DeMambro for being there with me at the planning board meeting when we were discussing this for many hours. And the request to ask for credit should go I'm happy to support this resolve, but we should be sending a request to the governor, asking her to give us credit for what we've done. And I would make that in the form of a motion when we're finished with this. Sure. The state delegation, as much as we can ask for their help, and I appreciate that we can ask for their help, they did their work, and then they sent it off to a board of unelected people to write all the rules around this thing. It was a board of, I think the term that Councilor Demers used was bureaucrats. And that's exactly what they were. They're not elected officials. The elected officials said, here's our idea, do something with it. So again, I'll support the resolve tonight, but I think our request to get credit needs to go to Governor Healy in the Attorney General's office. So,
I'll second that.
On the motion, just a question.
Yes, Councilor Demers.
Through President Dillon to Councilor Campbell. In your conversation with our legislators, was there not any talk about Woburn having already received credit for a certain amount of these apartments that have been approved?
Yes.
In the grand scope of the fact that we could have had to be required to do more than the current allotment that we're facing?
Well, what was
So
said,
and I'm sorry to interrupt, I'm just
That's
saying.
okay.
But by asking for additional credit on this, aren't we gonna be asking for the same credit we already received?
no, that's what I'm going to say. So they didn't word it as credit. So what I was told was that it was going to be straight across the board for everybody, the 3,500 units. And the amount that we got, from what I understood, from when I spoke with Representative Hagerty, he's calling it a reduction, but in my view, it wasn't a reduction because of because of what the units that we've put in. It was a reduction for everybody across the board. It wasn't just for the city of Woburn, it was for everyone. So I don't feel that we actually have gotten credit
Okay.
for the units that we put in, and that's why I put that in.
Okay, because my only thought process on that was that that adjustment was made across the board based on the amount of communities that had already done work. So my only concern is we'd be asking credit again for something that they already have taken into account, because we've never really received any information as to how that calculation was ever made. So I do understand that, but I don't want there to be this, because I can tell you, having worked in the legislature as a staffer, and I know everybody's probably getting sick of me saying that line, but I was up there, and to have a legislative delegation for one community file legislation that would impact a whole swath of state legislation that carried is highly unlikely to see the light of day. So in essence, I think maybe in less of a form of a motion to Councilor Mercer Bruin is we'll just CC the governor and the lieutenant governor on this, especially the lieutenant governor, because she was a former mayor. I think she needs to be brought into the loop in this, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, that this is sent to them as well, to make sure that they see what's going on in Woburn. Because legislation that's filed, it could take months. And any type of, relief would have to come from the executive branch as opposed to the legislative branch, because their session's done in August. They're gonna be breaking for session to run for reelection, and then we won't hear from them until January when the new general court's sworn in. So I think focusing on the executive branch and making sure that they convey our concerns to DHCD or whatever it's referred to now, I think maybe that might, so I'm not saying we change the language per se, just making sure we get it in front of people who are actually gonna be able to get us the relief in the time frame that we're looking for it.
Yeah, okay, but I'll go ahead and then I'll make a comment, I'm
Councilor
sorry.
Bruin.
I appreciate those comments from Councilor Demers, because he does have, he worked up on the hill, is that what we say,
You
up
can
on the
use
hill?
I try not to use that phraseology.
The only thing I would ask, I think, I don't want it to get mixed up in the resolve. It's a direct ask to the executive branch to give us credit for what we've built. And
if we just CC them on this resolve, I'm not sure we're doing anything except for CCing them. I personally would like to make it a direct ask. Why aren't we getting credit for what we've done? And if there's an answer, maybe there's a logical answer and none of us know it. We've never gotten the answer. In fact, the question has never been asked from what I can ascertain. So I would, when we're finished with the resolve, I would like to make it a formal motion that we send the communication to the governor and the executive attorney general, right? Attorney general, or is it Kenneth?
There's a new phraseology for it now, but it was the formerly known as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, or something like along those lines. I think it's under new phraseology that.
And again, I'm not trying to tell anyone on this council, if you're not comfortable putting your name on a letter to the governor asking for credit, don't put your name on it.
Right.
But at this point, we've been talking about it a lot. I'm going to make it into the form of the motion. If it's my name's the only one on it, then so be it. But I think the question should be asked and answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Councilor Campbell.
To your point, Joe, yes, but the problem is in the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? If we don't move forward with doing this,
Excuse me
right?
one second. I think I need to recuse myself from this. I'm an agency head within the executive branch of the government. I don't think I should go any further here if we're going that road. I buy into your resolve. I just sort of think I'm going to a place that I can't be right now because of my full-time job.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I would just wait till he leaves the room.
Sure.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you.
I agree with you, Darlene. Why not? Let's send it to her. Let her start to see that the other communities are not comfortable with this. That if we were given credit, which it kind of sounds like we really weren't, but they're kind of saying, well, maybe, you know, let's find out for sure. Did we get credit? I want to see the numbers.
It could be a logical.
Absolutely. And if we don't move forward, if they don't see that I don't want to say that we're serious about it, but that this is something that is very important to our city because we've done our due diligence. And I hate to keep saying that, but we have. If you look at the data that we have, even, you know, and I even spoke to this with Representative Hagerty, and yourself with Commerce Way and that whole area, putting that together. You know, I believe that really helped the city. And then we move forward with some of the housing projects. And we pushed for the affordable housing to get from 10% to 15%. And it just seems that I believe that, I don't know who dropped the ball where or who gave what to who, it's, you know, but something went awry, something went wrong somewhere. And I just feel like they need to look at it and correct it, or at least try to correct it. And it might fall on deaf ears, and that's okay, but that's not our job. Our job is to push it forward to make our point. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. Councilor DeMambo.
I call this fuzzy math. That's what I call this. I deem this fuzzy math, because if they're asking for 3,500 units, and we got 1,554 currently, half a mile around that Anderson station. It's simple math. The 3,500 deduct the 2,631 that they're asking us, or demanding that we build. That'd be a credit of 869 units.
Just a clarification, zone, not build.
I understand that, but they did put in the request of 2,631. They did state a number.
Yeah.
So my way of thinking is this, Mr. President, at 869 units, then that should be the number. But they came in with, you know, these numbers that they keep shifting. They just keep shifting. And when we ask questions, we don't get any answers. So it would be nice to get some communications from the State House that say exactly what their intentions are, what the math is, because currently, as we all know, I got 425 units currently being built at the Fairfield project. down on New Boston Street. We've got the Emblem 120 that's been recently built. That's a brand-new structure. And in the pipeline is 0 New Boston Street for 250 more units. I think we should get credit for those, right off the rip. Those permits have been approved. Those projects are well underway. As a matter of fact, I believe Fairfield, by the close of this year, will start occupying those apartments amidst the MBTA bridge project. So this is something that definitely needs to be ironed out, regardless of the other 170 communities. You know, we're in a unique position here. And I honestly feel that through my discussions and communications with corporations, as well as contractors and residents and so on and so forth, in regards to the MBTA 3A, I think the state needs us more than we need them. Woburn is a hot commodity. Our city, you're not going to get a better area for advanced technology and people wanting to bring businesses here, as well as people wanting to live here. Why they're punishing us for the fact that we have 12893, we have a rail system. We do an incredible job with our first responders. Our education system is good, and everybody wants to come here. Our tax base is pretty low. I don't know why they're punishing us with this. I really feel that they should come to the table, not only with us, but with other communities, and I think these things need to be customized and tailored to the town or city or community that they're trying to take and add more apartments. I think that's their best approach. Instead of telling us what we need, they should come and take the effort, see what we currently have, and work with us and say, okay, let's customize it. You know, in this situation, I don't think one suit fits all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just
There is a,
before,
sorry.
yeah, just before we move on, Councilor Demers, don't ever apologize. Your ability to direct us through the navigations of Beacon Hill is invaluable. I know this councilor greatly appreciates
appreciate the
your
sentiment, Mr.
input.
President.
So thank you.
There is a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution, and a second to adopt the resolution.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I'd also like to make a motion that we send a communication to Governor Healy and
Lieutenant Governor Driscoll.
Lieutenant Governor Driscoll in regards to the MBTA 3A Communities Act, requesting credit for the work that we've already done, and also a more collaborative effort as we all try to help solve the housing crisis.
We'll make a second.
Motion and second, sorry, just to get this, motion and second to send a communication to Governor and Lieutenant Governor.
Driscoll.
Yeah, no, I know
Oh.
that, but with respect to,
The MBTA 3A Communities Act.
Yep.
Requesting that the city of Woburn get credit for all of the housing that we've already developed, some of which was built in collaboration with them through the 40R development. And also that we have a more collaborative approach to solving the housing issues that the state of Massachusetts is facing.
Councilor DeMambro.
There's also one little detail that
Wait.
we,
Is this in addition,
no,
sorry, okay, so I had a motion and a second on that.
Yeah, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor, and Councilor
Aye.
Boone.
Aye.
Thank you. You're recusing.
Abstain.
Yeah.
Recusing, whatever the word
Any
is.
opposed? The ayes have it.
sorry.
Yes, Councilor DeMambro.
there's also one more little thing that I just want to mention. According to what I've read, and I believe, Mr. President, I've passed this information along to you, and I believe we both saw this the same way. The governor has passed a $4 billion housing plan. And in that plan, it suggests that an R1 could be considered a multifamily if desired, and you don't have to follow your current ordinances. And that's something that's very scary and very tricky, because they're not regulating lot sizes, they don't care about setbacks, they just want housing, which means if we lose control of that, we are gonna have an underground population that we don't even know about, that could exist in this city, more than it already does. And we know they're out there, but this could be something that could be very dangerous for our city, and that's something also we should be starting to keep our eyes on. What that legislation is, where it's at, and if it should pass, that is a dangerous piece of legislation, not only for the city of Woburn, for all cities and towns. And that's something I just want to make sure is out there and on record. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Councilor Boone.
To follow up on Councilor DeMambro's comments, he's absolutely correct, and that has to do with accessory dwelling units. So I'd like to make a motion, we send a communication to Representative Haggerty and our delegation, asking them the status of that, their position on that, and coming to see this council to discuss it, because we have concerns.
So the motion is to invite the state delegation to come to a meeting?
As it
discuss that?
relates
Okay.
to accessory
Dwelling units.
dwelling units.
Second.
Just to clarify, accessory dwelling units are Governor Haley's housing.
It's all, it's all connected. The accessory dwelling units are part of that package. And it hasn't been officially, it still has to go through a few more reiterations. I think now is the time to get our delegation here before someone officially approves it.
Very good. There's a motion in a second. Was there a second on that?
There was, yes, there was.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Can you abstain from that? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. We are adjourned at 8:12.